first off, just tell me your name and your position at the university.
Sure. My name is Patrick Young. I'm the Coordinator of Veteran Services here at Towson.
So first off, just tell me a little bit about what your job entails on a day-to-day basis.
Got it. So day-to-day, running the Veteran Center, helping the vets that are coming in to the university that are already here, answering phone calls, responding to emails. Most of the time it's coming from either current students or veterans that want to come to the university, or they're just trying to navigate the GI Bill process and the enrollment process. So it's really it really depends on the day, and what I like about it is that no day's the same. One day I might be dealing with nothing but emails coming in from vets that want to get into the university. Then the next day I might be dealing with nothing but vets who are actually here just trying to find information, or they may be dealing with an issue. And a lot of times my one-on-one interactions, like, we'll be talking and I'm here as a resource and I want people to use me as one, but through the conversations I have realized that they say that they have an issue, but they haven't come out and said that they have an issue. So in that conversation, like, well, have you talked to anybody about the counseling center? Like, no. What's the counseling center? Like, let me tell you about that and forward them to the right person. Having trouble writing? Like, have you been to the writing center? Didn't know we had a writing center on campus. So a lot of times I'm connecting the dots for a lot of the vets that are here already, and also connecting the dots for the vets that are trying to get here. Because a lot of times the process to try and get into school, especially when you've been in the military for 2, 3, 4 years, it's a foreign process. And before, when you're in the military, you had somebody saying, if you were going to enroll in school, you'd have somebody telling you what you had to do it. Now that you're out, there's this freedom that you have to do all the work on your own, but there's nobody connecting those dots. So you might do the first thing and then be like, okay, I did that, somebody told me what to do next. Nobody tells you what to do next. You need to be able to figure that out for yourself, and I'm here as a resource for them so that I can answer their questions. Like, I did this, what do I do next? Like, well, you want to do this, 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 and this.
Mm-hmm.
So that way they can get into the university, use their benefits, and just carry on.
So tell me a little bit about how you ended up at Towson. Like, what was your, I mean, I see the Navy mug on your desk, so I'm assuming you were in the Navy?
Marine Corps, yeah. But the subdivision of the Navy, so we're all good. Sure, good connection.
So how did you end up at Towson after being in the Marines then?
Sure. So actually, when I was in, everybody. I grew up in the Baltimore area. I went to Mount St. Joe for high school. Everybody knew Towson. And a lot of friends of mine were all like, "Oh, we'll go to Towson. We will go to Towson after we graduate high school." That wasn't in my plan. I mean, I just didn't think college was the right step for me after high school, and so I was well aware of Towson and then who they were before I got in the military. And then once you get in, sometimes people make it a life. They spend 20 years in. Sometimes they spend one tour duty and they get out. And that's where I was. So I'd say about 2 years in, I knew that I was going to get out after my 4 years were up. And I knew I wanted to go to Towson. And a friend of mine from my unit, his mother actually works here still. And we talked about, we had 2 years out, like this way we were talking about, we're going to go to Towson. We're going to get a house nearby. His brother owned some houses over in Lochgraven Village. We're going to live nearby the campus. We're going to get jobs working in the area and just have the college experience that we hadn't had while we were in the military. So yeah, I planned on doing that. And then he actually was killed in 2004 in Fallujah, and it was going to be me and one other guy. We were going to live in a house. And then the other guy got killed too, so I was the only one left to, I was still coming to Towson. So I got out, and I was going to try and get in for the fall of 2005. But I called up, said, hey, I want to come to Towson. I've called admissions there. You missed all the deadlines, just like everybody does now. They just don't know what the timeline is. So I was like, fine. His mom, who still works here, said that if I ever wanted to go to college, just give her a call and she'd help me out, do whatever she could for me. So when I found out the application was coming up again in August of 2005, gave her a call. She walked me to every office I needed to go to get in. And I didn't realize at the time that I was a non-traditional student because I'd been out of school for at least 3 years. Took a placement test, got accepted based on that. So I started in the spring of 2006, and honestly, if I hadn't had her walking me around, I don't think I would have been able to start in 2000. I don't even know if I would have started here at all. I probably had to go into a community college. But yeah, I guess that was a detailed version of how I got here. Started coming here as a student. Did you want me to go in a little bit about?
Yeah, like, what was your, like, did you start working here right after you graduated, or?
Yeah, so when I was here, when I first started, you'd have a class with a vet, somebody else be in the military in your class, you can usually tell because somebody'd say something about overseas, or somebody'd say something about like a country they'd been in, and a lot of times in classes you can kind of tell that somebody might have served in some capacity just by the way they hold themselves. So you can, hey, you served in the military. Somebody'd be like, I was in the Army, I was in the Marine Corps, and you connect for that semester. But then after it, we kind of just split off, try and keep in touch, but there wasn't anything connecting us together. So figured, why don't we start a student group, linking us all together in a recognized fashion. So that way, it's not just fleeting. We have a class together, we'll hang out. After it's over, we'll do whatever. So I helped found the student group on campus, served as their president for 2 years. And while we were forming the group, the staff and the faculty actually created a advocacy committee that they then asked me to sit on because I was the president of the student group. So they were meeting and they surveyed us, asking what our needs were, or what wasn't being met. And we came back saying, overwhelmingly, the population at the time came back saying that it would help us to have a full-time person that we could go to walk us through some of these issues, walk us through this process, and possibly a space. And they said, great, glad to hear it. We'll give us 10 years and maybe we'll have something for you. And then we were like, okay, well, that's how things work. Didn't expect to get anything soon. But as soon as they started telling people what they were trying to do, support from administrators, deans, faculty just came from all over the place. So the room we have here, the Veterans Center, was actually a classroom that nobody wanted to teach in, because that pillar that's out there made all the students have to sit at an angle, and nobody's like, I don't want to teach in room 107. So they actually, the space was, I guess they called it unteachable, and I'm probably saying it all wrong on how that actually happened, but from what I heard, they wanted to give the space to a good cause. They didn't just want to waste it. So when they found out about this, they were like, we'll use this as a Veterans Center. Then when they wanted to hire a position, they were thinking about a contingent person, part-time person, just because it's tough to get anything like that. So somebody found out they were trying to hire a full-time position to help out vets, and they, I think funds were found. It was a collaboration between student affairs, academic affairs, and then the provost office that came together to create my position. And then when I was about to graduate in 2010, they asked if I wanted to. They wanted me to apply. Probably shouldn't be telling this on. They asked if I would apply, and I said that I wasn't. I was like, probably not. And people at the committee were kind of, oh, you're not going to apply? I'm like, nah. I didn't think I was going to do that when I got out or when I finished college. So then I went back to the student group, and I usually briefed them after these meetings, and I was like, so we've got a space, and they're going to hire a coordinator. Looks like everything's going to be good to go for the fall of 2010, and they were like, well, then they were like, oh, great, so you're applying, you're going to apply, right? I'm like, nah, probably not. And then in so many words, they said there was something wrong with me in the head if I didn't apply, because just because of the work we had put in and that helped to create it. So since they had enough confidence in me to do this work and do this job, they influenced me to apply more than the faculty and staff that would have liked me to apply. It just meant a lot coming from them, even though I was working in a student capacity, that they wanted me to have this job, even though I was their peer, like going through school. Where it could have been anybody that helped in this process that would have been good for this position. But their faith in me for what I had done so far really influenced me to apply.
So you mentioned a little bit about how you had to take the placement test since you were a non-traditional student. So what was it like to be a non-traditional student at Towson? What was your experience like?
Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't do as well as I should have in high school. So being a non-traditional student was a godsend. Because if it was just looking off of your high school transcripts and how you did on the SATs, I probably wouldn't have gotten in. But because I fell into that category and I could take a test, I aced the reading comprehension and English side, but I bombed the math piece, so I had to take a remedial course. But that was it. Getting in, in the military too, they still have that. You'd tell people, I'm getting out, I'm going to use my GI Bill, go to school, and some of the lifers would be like, what do you want to go to school for? You're just going to protest, all this stuff, misconceptions on both sides about what it was. So I didn't know what to expect, and I thought there was going to be a level of work that I wasn't prepared for, that I was afraid of. And I got here, and the mentality was different. I didn't do well in high school because I wasn't driven. I knew I wanted to go into the military, so high school seemed to be in my way. And I got out just enough to get the diploma and then get in the military. After I got out, I'd served 4 years, and the education I was working on was didn't seem like just the next step. It seemed like something I'd worked for, and now I was receiving a benefit to go there, and then there were others that couldn't go. So it was easier than I thought, but it wasn't easy because the work was easy. It was easy because my mindset was, this isn't a game anymore, and I ended up picking up 3 majors and a minor, just because I was driven and I was dedicated, and I just had the door open where before I was just closed off, like, I don't want to go to school, I don't want to learn, to I want to learn everything I possibly can, like make up for lost time. That I just didn't have the maturity when I was in high school to do. So, but it was tough connecting with younger students. You're in a freshman class, 18-year-old, 19-year-olds. You're 22. Your maturity level's different. You don't look. It's just tough to connect. Where the things that are important to them aren't important to you. So you can have conversations, but at the same time, like some of the little things. It's the same thing we notice with some of the vets that come back now. Just there's a disconnect in where they're at in life, and that can cause people to seclude themselves from groups and from the normal campus population. So we try to amend that by providing a space where they can meet other vets, other like-minded people that are going through the same things and have the same experiences, and then try and link them back to the community so that they're not just secluding themselves. And a lot of times just like a decompression, where like, oh, you wouldn't believe what this kid said, and then like, oh, this kid said this, or that person said that, and they're like, oh, well, it's not just me, I'm not crazy. And then there are a lot, it opens them up in a way that I think I tended to seclude myself when I was a student, because we didn't have a place to decompress, or a place to find out that I wasn't the only one going through those experiences. So,
yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And would you mind telling me a little bit about your service in the Marines? Like, you don't have to go into like really deep details, but just kind of what you did for them and where you served.
Sure. So I joined in July of 2001. Signed up to be in the Marine Corps Infantry. Served with the 1st Battalion 8th Marines for 4 years out of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Deployed twice to Iraq, and then I was involved in a humanitarian mission in Liberia in 2003. So, yeah, I mean, it's infantry, you're pretty much carrying a rifle. I went to a couple different schools, enhanced marksmanship instructor, pistol and rifle coach. But the big deployment, like second time in 2004, we were there from about June, maybe late May till early February, 2004, 2005, and got into, started that early. They had like the first Battle of Fallujah in April 2004, and then they let them sit for 6 months to build up. And then in November, at that point, my unit was 1A, was the most senior Marine Corps battalion on the deck, so then they sent us right down the middle of the city, and then we secured it. Then we had 2 more months in country, got back, and got out in July of 2005. So yeah, I wish it was. That's the basics. I mean, we wasn't an engineer. I mean, like, got to blow some stuff up with the engineers, but I realized I was just a infantry grunt, ground pounder. I won't say the other ones.
So how would you say that your experience in the Marines influenced your experience in college then?
Gave me a direction. Going from the military to education, I mean, you had that, and it wasn't just education, you just had that mindset that I just went through that, I can go through anything. Or I can, you had that I can do anything mentality. And where at times you're kind of sitting there like, I don't want to study, or like, I don't want to, you have a test coming up even in 2 weeks or like a week, and I don't want to buckle down and do this, and you're thinking like, stop letting that, because before, you would always have that thing in the back of your head telling you like, I don't want to do this, but there was always somebody there that made it so that you couldn't go. Now that it's on you, it gave me the dedication to the work that I was given, that it, just like we were saying before, it wasn't a game. It wasn't like, even though nobody's keeping on you to go to class, you're getting on yourself. You're like, I'm going to class because this is what I'm supposed to be doing, getting paid a benefit to do it, and I worked for that, and there are others that can't do it as well. So I think it just gave me the drive and the direction to complete the work that I did do.
And what would you say is the biggest challenge facing veterans today that were entering college at the same time, like same time that you were then, now?
Man, it's that connection to the school, that connection to the university. I mean, it's not just veteran students, any student. If you're active on campus, you succeed on campus. And a lot of times that vets are missing that connection to the physical campus. Where when you're in the Navy or in the Air Force, you're in the Marines, you're like, you were a Marine, you were a soldier, you were an airman. You stand by the flag. You know what the motto is. You know what your core values are for that service that you identified with for however many years you were in. And a lot of times when you think of it that way, it mimics how a student will come to a college and they'll be like, I bleed black and gold, I am a Towson Tiger, I am this, I am that, and they connect to the campus. It's hard for somebody to get out of that and then adopt a new mentality, a new identity associated with the campus, which also plays into not connecting. So I think the biggest problem, or the biggest thing facing them, would be secluding oneself or not seeking the help that they don't even know that they need yet, because of that military mentality that I can do it, I don't need assistance, and if I need assistance, something's wrong with me. That's what I've seen. In the last 3 years of working here, it's just been trying to get the message out that there are services available. That, not saying that there's any one particular issue, but when there are issues, you're not in the military anymore. There's nothing weak about going and finding help, finding assistance, whether it's through the school or whether it's through the VA or other outside source. So I would say just getting over that self-reliance and knowing that there are people and things available to you that could assist you. So.
All right, well, that's all the questions I have.
Gotcha.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add that you would just like students to know about you?
About me? Yeah, I'm married, and yeah, I have a life outside the office. So most administrators, you know that there are administrators that have positions and they're wrapped around their work, and a lot of times it's like you were saying, you know the names and you know the positions, but you don't really know anything about them. So I'm an avid movie watcher, like to play some video games myself. So a little Call of Duty here and there. So yeah, that's the main thing. I'm not at a lot of times too. I think especially with the position when it comes to veterans, the space too. Please come by.
Yeah.
Nobody bites. If they do, tell me so I can stop them. We're a welcoming bunch. I mean, we appreciate hearing from you all. And I'm constantly trying to get people out of here and into the general population. And if anybody has any questions or anybody wants to do anything with vets, whether it be through their class or it be through their group, let me know. We're more than happy to work with you, and we'd be happy to see you guys.